Let's get into Ghostbusters 2. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well out there and hope you all had a great weekend. Today we're going to talk about Ghostbusters 2 in preparation for Ghostbusters Afterlife that comes out on the 19th of November. I just procured my tickets on Saturday. Me, my wife, and my son, and Dale A. from Bat and Sweater Podcast, him and his wife and his two sons are all going together to see it in IMAX. So I will have a review as that Sunday for that film. I'm very excited to see what Jason Reitman has in store for us. Now, Ghostbusters 2 came out June 16th of 1989. I actually had to see this in the theaters that summer. I begged my parents to take me, and they relented and took me to the theaters to see it because I was a huge fan of the original. I wore that VHS tape out. I watched it all the time, so I was excited about the second one. It looked really cool from the trailer I saw. It's rated PG, an hour and 48 minutes long, had a budget of $37 million, and upon release it made $112 in America and $215 worldwide. So it was a huge hit, although not quite as large as the first film. Now, this film had some major hurdles to overcome to get to the big screen. After the huge success of the original in '84, Columbia wanted a sequel right away, but there was a few factors preventing that from happening. Bill Murray was one of them. Bill Murray, from everything I could find, didn't think they could top the first one, and was so well received and such a huge hit, he didn't think it was worth even trying. And he did a film called The Razor's Edge, and it bombed. And he kind of moved to Europe and gave up acting for a few years until he came back and had Scrooge out in '88, and then he agreed to come back and do Ghostbusters 2 finally for '89 release. Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ivan Reitman all owned Ghostbusters. I think they still have a large share of it. So Columbia couldn't move forward without them anyway. And Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd wrote the script for the original, and they were going to write the script for this one. So finally, when they all agreed, they all got in a room and hashed out some of their misgivings about it, and they said they'd write a script. Well, they wrote many scripts. They kept rewriting it because they never were truly happy with it. And by the time they found a script they liked, the real Ghostbusters cartoon was very popular in Saturday morning cartoons. I used to watch it religiously every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. I actually own the first season on DVD. My son loves it. And there's some really good episodes of that cartoon if you want to go back and watch some of those. And some of the ideas from some of their scripts made it into the cartoon eventually. That's another conversation for another time. So finally they had the green light. They had a script that everybody agreed they were going to do. And we have Bill Murray back as Peter Venkman. We have Dan Aykroyd back as Ray. We have Harold Ramis back as Egon. We have Ernie Hudson back as Winston. Sigourney Weaver back as Dana. Annie Potts is back. Rick Moranis is back. And we have the gang back together. And we have a new villain too. And right in the beginning of the film, Vigo is our main villain. And a quick tidbit about Vigo. In the film, he's played by a gentleman called Wilhelm von Humberg. He was also in John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. He plays Vigo, the Carpathian, who's in this painting, who's our big bad in this film. Now, this gentleman, this actor, said all the lines on set, on film. But in post, they had Max von Sydow come in and dub the lines. And this actor did not know about that until he saw the movie at the premiere, and he got so pissed off he walked out that they dubbed every line he said with Max von Sydow. Now, I know why they brought Max von Sydow on. Everybody knows his voice when you hear it. It's such an iconic voice. So I get it, but it kind of sucks that nobody told him until he saw the movie at the premiere. I feel bad for the guy knowing that now. Right away in the beginning of the film, we're reintroduced to Dana. She is a baby. And we find out right away that after her and Peter dated for a while after the events of the first film, they broke up. She got married, had a baby, and now she's divorced and she's a single mom. Peter is hosting this psychic TV program on cable TV. Egon is working at this research. He's doing research on emotions in people and humans. And Ray owns an occult bookstore, and him and Winston go out and do birthday parties as celebrity guests at a birthday party. And that's where we see them in the beginning of the film, where they pull up in Ecto 1's birthday party. And that's where we get a cameo by Jason Reitman, the director of the new film, where he tells them, "You guys are full of crap. My dad said you guys are full of crap, and that's why he's went out of business." Now, Jason Reitman was on set for the original film. He was on set for this one. And he got a cameo in that film. And I think it's pretty cool that it's a family business. He did the new film with his dad by his side. I think that's excellent. And just a cool thing with the father-son thing right there. And pretty soon, Dana comes with them with a problem. And they end up getting arrested because they find this river of slime under New York. And that's our major That's our big problem. All the negativity in the city has manifested itself in this slime that's very reactive to emotion. And it could be good or bad. It could act like it could be really positive or it could be really negative. And Vigo is using it to be very negative. And soon, Vigo gets enough power and there's ghost activity all over New York, which there hadn't been since '84. And the Ghostbusters, after this court hearing, come back and reopen business and are going all over the city busting ghosts. Then at the end, we get our final confrontation with Vigo. They vanquish him back into the painting, and the day is saved, and our heroes have won. The positives about this film: I think it's nicely directed by Ivan Reitman. I think it's great to see all the original cast back in these roles, these iconic roles. Bill Murray's excellent. Everybody's excellent from top to bottom. I mean, Janine has the biggest transformation because they tried to emulate her look from the cartoon a little bit, which is it's a big departure. If you watch them back to back, her look changes so much. It's so extreme, but she's still good. She's still really good in the film. It's just that's the one issue. And then Louis totally works with them now. He's like their personal accountant. He works with them. He's always at the firehouse. There's some cool designs on the ghosts. Vigo is not as iconic as State Puff, obviously. He's not as menacing as Zool, but he's serviceable enough. And in conjunction with this river of slime and all these other ghosts going on, he works well enough for the story they're trying to tell here. We get to see the Titanic come in with Cheech Marin as the dock worker. When he goes, makes the crack better late than never. I think that's pretty cool. When they use the Statue of Liberty to come down, it was the only way to get into the museum where Dana's being held and her baby Oscar, and it smashes through the slime that created this shell over the museum and glass, and they could drop in and defeat Vigo. I always loved that. Even when I was a kid, I was in awe of that scene. It looks a little dated now, but it still holds up pretty well, even in 4K. This was made back in '88, '89, so you can forgive some of the shortcomings on the effects. I mean, it was groundbreaking then. Now it looks a little quaint, but still works. I think the comedy's still there. Definitely they go for more ghosts, more effects, definitely. They went bigger with this film. Where in the first film, the ghosts were more contained. Yes, we got one at the beginning in the library, we got Slimer at the hotel, and we had some ghost busting, but we never saw them catch another ghost until towards the end of the film when they had to bust Zool and Gozer. So yes, there's a lot more ghost busting in this film. The montage, in the first one we see them running around with traps in their hand, but we never see them busting anything. In this one they show them busting more ghosts during the montage. Like I said, the effects definitely took over a little bit compared to characters, although I think there's enough characterization there. I know Bill Murray was disappointed in this film. He said the effects guys took over and there was less of us and more of the effects. While that's true, watching it now in hindsight, I think there's still enough characterization there. We still love these characters. They're still endearing to us. So that, I don't think the characters suffer all that much. I think maybe the big bad is underdeveloped a little bit. Although again, I think he's serviceable. He's just not as good as the first film. That's all. He's not as big of a threat, I don't feel, as Zool was or Gozer. I think that's probably the film's main thing, though. Too much special effects, and it took us away from the group of Ghostbusters. But overall, I've always enjoyed this film. I enjoyed it since I first saw it in the theaters in '89. I don't think this is a bad sequel at all. I know it gets a lot of shit, and people don't like this film compared to the first film. And I'm not saying this is as good as the first film, because it's clearly not. But it's definitely a solid sequel. It's a better sequel than a lot of the franchises we get sequels for sure. Because we got our whole main cast back. We have some new cast members, but that core group is still awesome in this film. Now, this film, Brian Doyle Murray, who's Bill Murray's brother, cameos as a psychiatrist in an insane asylum, and they get committed. So that's always cool. And the ending was reshot before this was released, and some other scenes were reshot. They had a bad test screening, and they actually were rushing around in April. This came out in June of '89. In April, they were rushing around reshooting the ending and reshooting other scenes, and some of those scenes got cut out. I've never seen them. I don't know what they are, and I don't know what the original ending was, but they did reshoot it before release. They rushed around to get that done. But overall, I like Ghostbusters 2. I think it's a very good sequel. Is it as good as the original? No, it's not as iconic. The villain, I think, holds it back a little bit. Although, again, I say he's serviceable because I don't mind Vigo. He's just not as iconic as Stay Puft or Gozer in the original film. But overall, I still really enjoyed this film. I could still sit down and watch it and have a good time with it. Now, I gave the original Ghostbusters a 9.75 out of 10. I would give Ghostbusters 2 an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good film. It's fun. There's a lot of they amp up the effects and the action in this film for sure, but I still think there's enough there to tie us with these characters that we love that I still enjoy this film and I can sit down and watch it anytime. So yes, 8 out of 10 for Ghostbusters 2. What are your thoughts on the sequel? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back later in the week with Delta Force 2, but until then, bye.